Your daily dose of sports and fun. This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
I'm Mike Hebert, owner of Cantex Roofing and Construction. Every day is game day, and we'll get it right when it comes to your roofing, construction, windows, and mirrors. Call Cantex Roofing and Construction today. Together, we are one serving you.
With Jamie Lent and Jeff McGuire, I'm Chuck Heinz. It's a busy Thursday. So in order, it'll be like this. We'll have Lady Raider basketball tonight. They take on Houston Christian at 5:30. We'll have it on 100.7 The Score. The tip at 6. I think what they're looking for tonight is a little more continuity, less fouling, less turnovers, and take care of business and see if you can have a little more flow and fluidity with your basketball team in Game 2, all right? Because they're going to start getting a little bit more difficult starting with next week and here moving forward. So that'll be tonight at 5:30. Tonight at 6 on Double T 97.3, we'll have Red Raider football with Joey McGuire as Coach McGuire will discuss his team and last week against Iowa State. And then looking forward to Saturday with Tech and Colorado playing at Jones Stadium. Our Optimum Game Day live coverage Saturday morning starts at 7 a.m. with a Saturday morning quarterback. We'll also have coverage tonight of Monterey High School football on 93.7 The Eagle. They play in Amarillo against Caprock as Monterey continues to kind of look to improve their lie with regards to the playoffs. They are headed to the playoffs. They need a little help from Tascosa to beat Amarillo to have a co-district championship and maybe perhaps outright win it all, depending on point totals and things like that. I'll get more of that intel today at lunch. As LASD Athletics Director Mike Meeks, he's the numbers guy when it comes to the playoffs. I mean, he knows all the scenarios. Estacado is idle this week. They're in their bye week. They're also headed to postseason play, and so we'll maybe get an idea of perhaps kind of where they might be headed. So that'll be tonight at 6:30 on 93.7 The Eagle, and the kick's at 7. And then tonight, NFL football, as the Ravens play host to the Bengals. It feels like these Thursday night games have become the worst game of the week.
I would have thought before the season that would have been a good matchup.
Yeah, right. But
yeah, I was just about to ask you, are the Bengals one of the biggest disappointments in the league?
Yeah, I think so. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so.
I mean, at least like with the 49ers, you can talk about all their injuries
and stuff like that.
Jeff wants to put a vote in. Jeez, Chuck, I wonder who Jeff wants to vote for.
I mean, is it a disappointment when it's expected?
I would say I didn't expect this with the Cowboys. I mean, I expected them to be pretty much like what we've seen good in the regular season. Maybe I didn't expect quite as good, but decent in the regular season and then not be a factor in the postseason, but they've changed their ways this year. Now they're not a factor in the regular season either.
And let me give you some really just I don't know. Anytime somebody has a season-ending injury, potentially it is disappointing and disturbing.
Dak's injury is disturbing.
Yeah, I mean,
part of his hamstring torn off the bone.
Yes, he has a partial avulsion of his right hamstring tendon. This is what Calvin Watkins is reporting in the Dallas Morning News. This is what he's saying. A person with knowledge of the injury told the News. Team officials are trying to determine if Prescott needs surgery for the portion of the tendon that is torn from the bone or if it can heal on its own. If surgery is necessary, his season would end. The initial diagnosis has him missing multiple weeks, but the quarterback is getting additional options to determine the severity of the hamstring tear. I'm also, you know what the first thing I thought of, and this is probably terrible. This is probably a terrible thought.
After you say this, I'm going to admit the first thing I thought of.
I'm just wondering if there's an insurance policy here against his contract that will allow the Cowboys to get out of their deal and move on and go to somebody else.
No, I don't think there would be. Okay, that's not what I was thinking of. I think mine's worse. When I'm hearing that Dak had part of the hamstring torn off the bone, all I could think about was eating a chicken wing. Trying to get all the meat off the chicken wing bone.
Wow.
And that's what's happening to Dak's leg. Does this do I have cannibalistic tendencies?
No, you just
God.
like chicken wings.
I just like,
Nothing
especially
wrong with
this
that.
week, right?
Yeah.
Buffalo wings.
Who doesn't like chicken wings this week?
That's some sort of sicko, isn't it, Heinz?
Yeah, what do you like?
See,
What are
we
these-
both had a story and mine was worse. So
That's a first.
All right, I'll let you figure out where my first thought landed.
What's
Okay.
that?
At the beginning of the offseason, I was like, let this contract ride. The best thing that can happen to the Cowboys is to Dak Prescott have a season-ending injury, but not career-ending, but season-ending about halfway through the year. So he doesn't get the $65 million a year contract that he wants. He becomes damaged goods. The Cowboys can let him go. He can go get that money from somebody else and go forward. And that's almost exactly what the situation happened, except that we gave him the $65 million a year.
Yeah.
wouldn't you have loved, I would have, it would have been pure drama to me to see who would have offered Dak how much on the open market.
Yeah.
Yes.
To see what other people thought of him.
Yes.
Yes. Because it may not have been quite as much as what everybody thinks.
Let's just say the insert random team here is desperate for a quarterback and was willing to pay Dak that $65 million other than the Cowboys. That helps the Cowboys and hurts that team because they're in the same situation the Cowboys are in, where between two players, 45% of your cap is being used up next year.
Man, I don't think you were here when I made this statement, James. Let me run this by you. And if you were, I apologize for repeating my statement.
Okay, I probably forgot anyway.
So when I was watching the other, like a couple Sundays ago, I think it was either Chiefs Cowboys or Cowboys Chiefs back to back, and in watching the two quarterbacks, I just came to this one conclusion: mechanically, Dak is a very good quarterback. I mean, with the mechanics, with how he throws the arm, how he sets up, but he's not a playmaker. And by that I mean,
Took you watching the games back to back.
No, but I
last
mean,
week to
but I mean, it was just so.
I have always thought that Dak is just a step above a bus driver.
Yeah, but I mean, but mechanically sound, he's very good. And you could look at him and go, I think this is a guy, but from a playmaking standpoint, a guy that can improvise and do what he needs to do to move the team down the field, he doesn't have that ability.
There's just not an it factor with him.
This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Time for this day in sports history. Today is the 7th day of November, 2024. With this day in sports history and history is Jeff McGuire.
Starting in 1943, we're big fans of firsts and lasts around here. Mm-hmm. The last scoreless tie in the NFL took place on this day. The Detroit Lions and New York Giants.
0-0?
That would be the last scoreless tie, yes.
0-0, huh? Wow.
I'm a fan of a good defensive struggle. But that seems pretty boring. I mean, if I'm being completely honest. I mean, you can have a 6-3 game be
Sure.
entertaining or 10-7, whatever, but nobody can score a single point. That would be boring.
1963, New York Yankees catcher Elston Howard is the first African-American to be voted AL MVP.
Cool.
Wow, okay. 63.
1978, Boston Red Sox Jim Rice wins the AL MVP.
Had a really good year, just not good enough for the Red Sox that year.
1987, James Gray had 179 yards on the ground, and Billy Joe Tolliver completed 11-yard strike to Wayne Walker with 54 seconds on the clock, and Texas Tech defeated TCU 36-35.
Let's go.
1991, Magic Johnson announces that he has HIV and retires from the LA Lakers.
God, what a monumental day. Maybe not as much for you guys, but man, that was just absolutely stunning. Kind of stopping I can vividly remember exactly where I was when he came out and made that announcement, and I think everybody just went, "Oh my God, everybody can get this."
Crazy. Never heard of him having any kind of health problems or anything.
No, he's literally taken a lot of drugs to do that.
I get it.
Yeah, but you're right. He stayed relatively healthy and went on to play basketball again. But man, that was just an absolutely wild moment.
Mm-hmm.
1998, in the 10th College Football Holy War, Notre Dame beats Boston College 31-26 in Chestnut Hill.
How many different holy wars are there?
I don't know.
Like Utah has one, BYU's got one.
I think it's the same one.
It's against each other, right? Yeah.
2009, Jerry Sloan becomes the first coach in NBA history with 1,000 wins for one team after defeating the Oklahoma City Thunder. Happy National Bittersweet Chocolate with Almonds Day. So you have to have the combo. You can't just have the almonds or the chocolate. You got to have both.
Completely out on that whole deal.
I love chocolate with almonds. I don't. The bittersweet is what you normally get in a chocolate chip cookie, right?
Those are semi-sweet.
Semi-sweet. Okay, well, I don't think bitter is what I want. I just like milk chocolate. Milk chocolate and almonds. Anything that has almonds in it is my favorite. Whether it's the Snickers with almonds, it's the Hershey's with almonds, it's the Mounds with an almond in it. All day. Those are my favorites.
On the list of Red Raider birthdays, this gentleman was one of our white whales that it took some significant time to figure out.
What does that mean, white whale?
From Moby Dick. The whale that was chased. He was the great white whale that Captain Ahab was going after.
They're very rare. They're hard to find.
They're rare. Okay, that's what I was looking for.
And hard to find.
Can I take a guess at who this birthday is?
Sure.
Is it Wes Kitley?
It is Wes Kitley. Okay. 66 today.
Oh,
happy birthday, Coach.
Happy birthday, Coach.
Well, he's definitely rare.
Well, finding his age was the hard part.
Yeah, it's hard to find great coaches as great as Coach Kitley. It's the job that he's done.
Right out there and outed him. Just did him. Boom. 66.
Well, yeah. That's how this works.
That's how
This is not news to anybody who's had a birthday before.
Okay.
Lord, pop singer, is 28. Christopher Knight, 67. And Billy Gillespie, former Texas Tech basketball coach, is 65. 1 year younger than Wes Kitley. Would not have picked that.
To the day.
I was thinking about this, chatting with somebody, I don't know, a couple weeks ago. Like the amount of craziness that we have had in our men's basketball coaching situation in the last 15 years.
Oh my
10,
God.
12 years.
Oh, yeah.
The amount of craziness is a lifetime for some basketball programs.
Yes.
And we've had it in like 12 years.
You think of James Dickey and what he did with his team, and then the craziness and what ended his tenure, and then the hiring of Bob Knight, and then
him getting in an argument with the president, chancellor, whoever it was, at a
grocery store.
Yeah,
and right.
Salad bar.
all that came with Coach Knight to Coach Gillespie and them trying to fire him, but they couldn't find him because he's hiding out in a rehab center.
Mayo Clinic.
Okay. On to Chris Walker, who was an interesting guy in his own right. Okay. Everything that was involved in Tubby Smith, who came in and had a press conference, and everybody that listened to the press conference is like, oh my gosh, this dude is so senile. This is not going to work. Okay. And he did a good job for the Red Raiders, no question about it. And
crashed his motorcycle on a brand new court.
And then he just bails.
That poor
and then he
motorcycle.
just like, I'm driving to Amarillo to fly out of here forever.
Yes.
Okay. On to everything that was the fraud of the person that was Chris Beard.
You go get Chris Beard.
But oh, by the way, you go to a national championship game along the way.
Right, you're a stop away from winning one.
And then we got, the just completely corrupted core moral values of the next guy. I can't even remember his name.
Mark Adams.
I mean, just like, this is stuff you can't make this stuff up.
And now we have this calm, cool, collected. It seems like we've got a little bit of normalcy going on right now. Knock on wood.
Yes, absolutely. But I would have told you that at the beginning of the Mark Adams era. Like,
sure.
Okay, we got a guy now. Yeah, it is crazy what our basketball program has gone through.
Right? No, you're exactly right.
Yeah, and the crazy part is they've also been really successful during that stretch.
Yeah,
There's
because
been some really good years.
Dickey takes you to a tournament. Coach Knight takes you to a tournament. Chris Beard, like you said. Tubby Smith,
I mean, you just can't make up all the stuff that we've had. I mean, again, this is a lifetime of some college basketball programs. We've had it in like a 10, 12-year stretch.
All right, time for our lucky local winning word this morning. It's brought to you by Double T 97.3 in the home zone. Jeff was about to punt us away, but he did not. Punt is your word here this morning, P-U-N-T.
It would be really boring for Jeff without us.
It would. He was going to punt us into a commercial break, but he did not.
I'm not the one that punts us into the commercial break. Technically, you are.
I am, right, yes. But go to doublet973.com.
Squib kick.
Yeah. No, it's not a squib kick or a pooch kick. Pooch kick is the one that really gets me. If pooch kick was on this list, I think I would change the word. Mm-hmm. Punt, P-U-N-T, is your lucky local winning word. Go to doublet973.com. Enter that, and you could win $250 from us in the home zone. Could be today, could be tomorrow, could be next week, or you could win $2,500 on December the 5th at 2 Docks when we conclude our lucky local winning word adventure.
The Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3 is presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Good morning, Jamie Lent, Jeff McGuire. I'm Chuck Heinz. Got a pretty good rundown for today, in addition to the fine commentary that you'll hear throughout the day, whether it's maybe this show, maybe this show. End of the bench at 9 on 100% of the score, along with the bottom line. And then this afternoon, Tech Talk on location today at Twin Peaks. So if you're out and about, our guys will be there from 3 until 6 today at Twin Peaks. They're off of the Marcia Sharp Freeway, so be looking for them today. We'll have Red Raider football with Joey McGuire tonight at 6 on Double T 97.3, and then Bengals and the Ravens tonight. There's basketball in the city tonight. Boy, the United Supermarkets Arena has been busy this week. Monday with basketball on the women's side, Tuesday the men, Wednesday with volleyball, tonight with the women, and tomorrow night with the men. So we'll have Tech and Houston Christian tonight at 5:30 on 100.7 The Score. The Tip tonight at 6 on 100.7 The Score. And then we'll have Monterey High School football tonight as they look for yet another win. They've been on a winning streak, and so they'll take on Caprock tonight. This is a game that they should win.
Okay.
It's a game that they should win. And I think you're taking on a team that's, you don't want to play down to their level. You got to go and play on the road. It's always hard to play on the road. We know that. But, you've got it kind of right there in front of you in terms of if you want to keep yourself in contention for a district championship or co-championship, you've got to win tonight. And I would imagine that winning tonight also improves your playoff lie in terms of maybe matchup or maybe even having a home game. We'll get more on that today at lunch with LISD Athletics Director Mike Meeks. I think they call him Athletic Coordinator. He's the Athletic Director. He's the head daddy rabbit of all the LISD sports. Okay, so we'll get that. Somebody asks if Houston Christian and Houston Baptist is the same university. Yes, they are. Yeah, they sure are. All right, footballscoop.com did this, Jamie. Go ahead.
So they went from Houston Baptist to Houston Christian, but they don't want you to call them Houston Christian.
No, they want you to call them HCU. That's what they want you to call them.
HCU used to be HBU.
Right, and they're still not any good, okay? although I will say this. In the 2014-15 season, the Lady Raiders almost lost. 60-59 was the final.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. Now, last year, you cleaned the clock, 79-34. Last year was also a game in which you held them to 2 points in a quarter. The third quarter last year, you outscored them 27-2. You also held them to 2 points off of 13 Lady Raider turnovers. They want to have less than 10 tonight. And Tech had an 18-0 run off fast breaks against them. But that 27-2 third quarter was pretty impressive last year.
Probably pretty boring, too.
Well, I mean, it just got exciting because it's like, I can't remember. I'll have to look up the timing sheet to see when it actually occurred. I'm sure Finkner could give me that off the top of his head. What was it, Chuck? It was at the 6:32 mark, of the third quarter. Don't you remember? There was a inbounds pass and a layup, and then he's got that kind of memory.
I totally believe you.
He's blessed, and he would tell you he's blessed and cursed with that. But Mark and I will have the broadcast tonight at 5:30 on 100.7 The Score. All right, third-year coaches, Jamie.
Okay.
I was just going to start. I'll give you a couple other coaches, and we'll get to Coach McGuire. In the ACC, Mario Cristobal from Miami is in his third year. 21-13, 11-10 in the ACC. They say he is right on schedule in terms of where they're supposed to be. His upside is so much bigger than his downside. He proved at Oregon he knows how to build a team and brought that knowledge home with him. Okay. In the let's see. Sorry, my deal refreshed on me here. So if you look at the coaches overall, the coaching class of 2022, they say was big, not necessarily in terms of numbers, but in terms of swings made and dollars committed. Like at LSU, Miami, USC, TCU, and Colorado State, all swiped head coaches away from peer programs. Okay, like obviously USC takes from Oklahoma, and TCU took from SMU. There were 25 coaches. 24 are still in place. Okay. Told you about the ACC. And scrolling down to Joey McGuire, 21-14 is his record right now going into this weekend. 14-10 in the Big 12. They have a chance to do something, be above 500 in the Big 12 with a win this week to get 5 wins in the Big 12. And remember, prior to Coach McGuire getting here, you had not done that since 2009. So here's exactly what they say. McGuire memorably claimed the Big 12 runs through Lubbock after beating Texas in his first conference game. But,
I wish people would forget he said that.
Yeah, I think he probably does too. That wasn't intended to be recorded and put out there, but it was. But thus far, that hasn't proven true. McGuire arrived with the most institutional support a Tech coach has ever had. I think that's a true statement. Mm-hmm. But so far, the results have fallen in line with Tech's historical mean, 7 to 8 wins consistently, but not much more. Saturday's game with Colorado, this is what this article says, looms as the biggest of McGuire's career. Win that, and the Red Raiders likely finish 9-3 and have an outside shot at a conference title. Do you think that Saturday is his biggest game of his career here?
I would definitely think that if we win it, we will say that. If you lose it, we will talk about other big wins that got you to bowl eligibility, or were huge wins over a rival. I mean, to me, I agree if you win.
Okay. Would you say right now that his biggest win might be last week at Ames and beating the 11th ranked team in the country on the road?
Well, it definitely makes this one worthy of being called the biggest one. So without it, yes. I mean, I don't know. Depends what you do with it.
Yeah.
Depends what you do with it. I mean, if we lay an egg and lose 2 out of 3 here to finish the season, it really didn't turn into anything that great.
I still go back to, if you're talking biggest wins for Joey McGuire, first year, Texas, Oklahoma 1-2. Kansas on the road last year when you needed a win to have a hope for bowl eligibility against a ranked team, a good ranked team.
Yeah, I think I'm with Jeff. I would take the win over the rival of Texas over.
I think Iowa State might jump Kansas from last year to be third.
Well, Iowa State's ranked higher. Yeah. Here's what they say, the verdict. No reason for panic, but no cause for celebration either. Is that a fair statement?
I think it's fair.
Yeah, I think everything in here is fair. Because I do think he is benefiting from or has benefited, he and his staff, with an indoor facility that wasn't here when Tommy Tuberville took over, that was being built while Cliff Kingsbury was the head coach. Matt Wells got to take advantage of that, obviously, and the football facility. But Coach McGuire gets to take advantage of the South End Zone project, the new football facility, the indoor facility, and, oh, by the way, the financial support from the Matador Club in a big way. So it's when you look at your two basketball programs and your football program, it's hard to say that they lack for anything, because I don't think you can say that at all.
I don't think you can either.
Not by any stretch of the imagination. So it's like, okay, we've provided all of this. We need something now in return for what we have provided, whether it's the fans buying tickets, the university providing the financial support, the donors providing financial support, plus the buildings themselves. Jamie's question of the day is next here this morning on the Morning Drive.
The Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3 is presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Jamie's question of the day on Double T 97.3 is brought to you by Connecticut of West Texas.
All right, guys. This one can be a positive answer or a negative answer. And as you guys know, I've been thoroughly entertained with the craziness that has gone on in the Big 12 Conference this year. It's been a lot of fun, except when the craziness affects the Red Raiders. But that's...
in a negative way.
Yeah, a different story. So I'm just going to ask you flat out, positive or negative, who's the biggest surprise in the Big 12 this year? And this was kind of a question that I asked the guys yesterday afternoon, but I tweaked it a little bit.
You tweaked it a little bit.
Yeah. Who's the biggest surprise?
I think BYU is the biggest surprise, to be sitting here undefeated going into second week in November, poised to be in the college football playoff. They're going to play at Utah this weekend. And I think if you were to ask at the start of the season, hey, BYU's going to go into Utah and roll those guys, you'd be like, huh, I'll take that. I'll take that bet, because I feel like the BYU, I don't know what the point spread is or anything like that, but now I would be shocked if Utah beat BYU
I think
at home
it's only
this week.
4.
Okay. But I'd be shocked if BYU lost this weekend to Utah. So I'm going to say BYU in a positive manner.
I'm going to flip it for the other end of the conference. Oklahoma State winless in Big 12 play. Oklahoma State, the team that was knocking on the door, it felt like, for the last decade, to be right up there with Texas and Oklahoma for running this conference in the football field. And the longevity of Mike Gunn, winless in Big 12 play.
I'm with Jeff. That's the biggest surprise for me.
Yeah.
It's Oklahoma State on the negative side of things. I mean, 0-6. I mean, I can have a down year.
Sure.
You're 3-3 or you're 2-4 or whatever. But for them to be 0-6, I totally agree with Chuck too, that BYU is a major shock. But because you have a coach and a program that's been there so long, and it just, I would have never in all the world guessed that was coming.
And it's not like they had just a ton of turnover from last year's team. They had some, just like everybody else.
It doesn't make any sense, yeah.
They
had the guy that was going to be the Heisman Trophy winner, Ollie Gordon, you know?
Yeah.
They drove off a cliff, disappeared.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're on milk cartons.
I'm definitely rooting for them against TCU this week.
Oh, sure, yeah.
By the way, Chuck, the
Utah game is November the 9th, yeah. Oh, go ahead. By the way, what?
By the way, the Utah game is November the 9th. Saturday with BYU?
Yeah, it's Saturday, November the 9th. It's not this
That's this Saturday.
That's this Saturday. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, the line is only 3.5.
3.5.
That's what I was trying to say.
I'm sorry. I was
whether it's November 9th or November the 9th.
Okay.
Or this Saturday or Saturday.
No, this, for whatever reason, November the 9th has come up quickly. I mean, it's just like, oh, they have a bye this week. No, that was last week. It's just the month is flying by.
But you can just see how that rivalry has been one of those crazy ones that you just never know what's going to happen. And so that's why I would assume that's tight like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That seems crazy. But yeah, I'm both of those things are, I mean, the Utah, you could have gone with Utah. I mean, Utah was picked to win this conference. Mm-hmm. And they are 1-4 in conference play.
That's still one more win than Oklahoma. Like, that's there's lots of surprises this year for the Big 12.
Okay, so Jamie's question of the day, number 2. Mm-hmm. What game was the biggest shock of any of them, of all of them this year in the Big 12 so far?
Houston beating Kansas State.
I think that's where I go.
Yeah, I think so too.
That's where I go. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, BYU putting it on K-State like they did, that would have to be up there really high as well. At that point, we didn't know BYU was this good.
Right.
But
all things considered, Tech beating Iowa State in Ames, that goes on the list. I don't know. It's not as shocking.
Just because I think we're a good team. We're a decent team, at least. Houston is not a good team. I mean, Kansas State's 2 conference losses. I mean, BYU and Houston, you would have never predicted that before the season.
Yeah, and I think the thing that when you look back at the K-State BYU game, you're like, well, that was in Provo. Yep. K-State always gets right at the end of the year. You know, they always improve as they go. I think the fact that they lost in November to a team like Houston that nobody saw coming.
Yeah. Avery Johnson, to me, he's really up and he's really down. He's just all over the place to me. That's why it's a little bit hard right now to predict what Kansas State's going to be at any given time.
So I heard you talking about this. I think I heard you talking about this with Choice. So for Texas Tech, for a lot of positive things to happen, you said that Rob Breaux had some kind of a analyzer in terms of which games are the most important for the Red Raiders to get into the Big 12 championship game. Right.
Saturday, most important. If you don't take care of business Saturday, it doesn't matter what the rest of the schedule does.
No, I understand that.
I don't know if that was me.
Okay, could have been somebody else, but apparently
Sneed.
Okay, this Iowa State.
I try not to ever refer to Rob Breaux.
Okay, this Iowa State Kansas game is pretty important.
People won't allow it.
It's pretty important. You know, for let's say you win Saturday, you need Iowa State to lose another game.
Yeah, no doubt. But whether you win or, I mean, if you're going to catch them, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it would probably be helpful for K-State to lose another game too.
It would.
You know, so maybe the most.
So I am going to tell you, Chuck, this is what you should do. You should root against K-State.
Root against K-State.
The rest of the year, I think you should turn over a new leaf.
We will not have any. If they could lose the bye week, I would certainly wish the. But
you can pretend it's about the Red Raiders.
Yeah. They play Arizona State on the 16th at home. They play Cincinnati on the 23rd at home, and then they travel to Iowa State. Iowa State has Kansas this week at Arrowhead. Then they play host to Cincinnati. Then they go to Utah. And then obviously they play host to Kansas State on November the 30th. So, and there's plenty of opportunities. I mean, for BYU, I mean, they could still lose games. I mean, they're at Utah, they host Kansas, at Arizona State, and then host Houston. Doesn't seem likely. Seems like that they've got a pretty easy path to an undefeated season, but. Man, you just never know.
This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Jamie Lent and Jeff McGuire. I'm Chuck Heinz. Nice to have you with us today on Lubbock Sports Station, Double T 97.3 and Double T 97.3.com. Come to you from the First United Bank studio. Thoughts, comments, Yates Flooring Center chat line, Visual Edge IT hotline. That number is 806-771-0973. All right, just some thoughts from the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Here's a question for you, Jamie. You have to look into your crystal ball or shake your magic 8-ball. Will the Texas Tech baseball team host a regional?
Will they host a regional? Man. I would tell you that it's possible. I would tell you that it's just so hard to know what you have pitching-wise. Chuck and I were just talking about this in the break a little bit because you don't use some of your guys, and your hitters have a massive advantage because they see the guy so many times. Mm-hmm. I guess if I'm being conservative, like I normally am, then I would say you're a postseason team, but you're not hosting a regional.
Okay.
But it would
it's not
not
like
surprise
they ask you, you're hosting a super regional.
Yeah. Okay. So that's the top 16 teams. Do I think you'll be ranked inside the top 16 when the preseason polls come out? No, I don't think you will.
Okay.
So, but not that decides who wins. It's what you do over the course of your season. But yeah, I would still say coming off of last year, I would not expect the Red Raiders just at this point. I really like what I see, especially on the offensive side of things. But I think pitching wise, there's a lot to like too. It's just hard to gauge them at this point of the year.
Yeah.
And again, some of the guys that you're going to rely heavily on aren't pitching at all or are barely pitching at this point because they're not going to overuse them in the fall. So that factors into it as well. But I think it's a possibility. But I guess right now, if you're asking me a prediction, I would say no.
Okay. This question, is anyone under the age of 35 actually listening to the show? Well, hey, based on my anecdotal run-in with Peyton the other day at the men's basketball game, he certainly was under the age of 35. And based on what you were telling me about Taylor from yesterday at the baseball game,
I would guess Taylor was right in that range.
Okay. I would say he's under the age of 35. So, we got people of all ages listening to this thing, from infant, newborn to, almost dead, we run the gamut. We run the gamut.
Are there newborns listening, infants listening?
Yeah, guys that have babies and they're wanting to, not that they were having the baby, their wives obviously, or girlfriend or significant others or whatever.
They always tell you it's important even when you're in the womb that you should get down there and have conversation, with the baby in the belly. Okay. Mm-hmm. And they tell you when they're kids that end up being better off are the ones that you have conversations with them when they're, newborns and all that. You still have conversations with them and all that good stuff. And even when they get to be toddlers, you should make sure you're talking to them and not just, throw them in front of an iPod or iPad and saying, leave me alone.
Yeah, right.
You should have conversations with them and you should converse with them when you're going through the grocery store, like how to make decisions and all these kind of things. So if all of that is accurate and all of that is true, if you have a newborn or an infant, do you kind of turn down the volume on the morning drive?
No, that was going to be my question for you.
I don't know if this is the smartest thing to have my kid listening to.
If your wife had been pregnant when we were doing a show together, would you have said, sweet little baby, I love you so much. Please don't listen to Chuck. Just listen to Daddy. Daddy's the rational one. Chuck is insane. You don't listen to him.
I probably wouldn't have said that.
Not quite that way? Okay.
I don't know if I ever did the baby talk thing anyway.
Yeah.
Just talk to them like they're normal, right?
Yeah. Dylan says this. I'm 31, and my radio is always on Double T 97.3 or 100.7 The Score. Thank you, Dylan.
Thanks, Dylan.
25. Been listening for 2 years. Thank you.
Awesome.
Bullfighter. My age is 32. My soul is 86. Okay. Our friend Dutch says this. Hey, Chuck, you have guys that are almost 100 like me. Lubbock Realtor. 32 still counts. My wife does call me an old man for listening right at 60, I think is what this is. I know
one of the baseball team managers, Aiden, is he's a longtime listener, and he's every bit of like 20.
Yeah.
Him and his dad always listen together.
There you I think I resent that almost dead thing, washed up guy. Okay. 31, started listening at 18. Oh, my goodness.
Nice.
And then we get this show, ... SMH, shaking my head. I mean, my wife would tell you that I'm 12. That's what she always says, 12. I'll do something and she'll say 12. 12.
12.
12. 12. 8:07 this morning here on the Morning Drive. Thoughts, comments, Yates Flooring Center chat line. Go to WT973.com for that, or the mobile app. Somebody else asked a question. It was sports related, Jamie. Does Mike Gundy hold true to his desire to not use NIL? If so, that is probably the biggest reason for Oklahoma State's downfall, other than Presley returning as a player. They really didn't pick up any new quality players.
Yeah, I think he's very similar to a bunch of coaches across the country that are not fans of it, but they are absolutely using it. Mm-hmm. There's no way Ollie Gordon is still there if they're not using it.
Yeah.
And his point, right before the season started was, okay, we've done all the money part. We've taken care of everybody. Everything's good. Mm-hmm. Tell your agents to stop calling me. The season starts now. Yeah. It's starting now. So now it's not off season anymore. It's time to focus on football. So clearly, at some point, they were getting their money.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's a great point, because I'd forgotten about that comment that he made. I think kind of sounds like they've got an internal culture problem, and then because once they had one thing that went bad for them, an early loss, it seemed like that just morphed into more and more and more and more and more, to the point where they can't get it turned around.
Yeah, I mean, their offense was horrible there for a good stretch. Mm-hmm. They've got some highly paid guys on that offense. I don't know if this is accurate or not, Chuck. I just feel like in today's world of college sports with the NIL money, I just think it's easier when things start to go wrong with guys to pack it in a little bit, because they're getting their money. They're good to go. This is not, I have to impress, every scout in America to try to make money. They know they're getting money. I just think there's going to be a little bit more relaxation, just like anybody else in this world, that they climb to a certain feat and get what they want. They relax.
Yeah.
And I think the money makes these guys relax a little bit quicker than they would have in the past.
Yeah, it's hard. That's a good.
This has been the Morning Drive Podcast, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Check out our library of Double T 97.3 podcasts at Double T 97.3.com.